I think a lot of people make decisions in a vacuum or a silo, and they're not proactively communicating. And again, that's where I believe that my enablement team can help. A lot of times as enablers, we're accessing the data. We're talking to salespeople throughout the quarter. We're hearing their pains. And so we're creating a plan based on the need. Within a year of enablement programs, we reduced new hire time to first opportunity by 47%. I really do think that having enablement responsible for your sales onboarding and potentially your entire go-to-market team onboarding is critical. I think if you're coming in and trying to establish that enablement is a strategic pillar of your organization, you really got to align yourself to the
Hello everyone, this is Michael Ocean, founder and CEO of Sell Me the Span. Today I'm super pumped because I have Nicole Ward on the call. So if you're in enablement, I think you know Nicole by now. If not, then I don't know where you've been. But just to give a little context, Nicole has been around for, I don't know, you tell me, 15, 20 years being in enablement. Yep. And she recently got recognized as the Enablement Leader of the Year by Seismic. What else should we know about you, Nicole?
Yeah, so as you said, I've been doing enablement for over 15 years now across multiple industries. I started in financial services, went to telecommunications, then enterprise SaaS software, and now I'm in HCM within the Workday ecosystem. So it's been, a lot of great learning opportunities to enable sellers in various verticals.
That's amazing. Nicole, how did you get...
I actually went to school for broadcast journalism of all things and found myself as an office manager at an investment brokerage. And I started to see a lot of operational inefficiencies and started to kind of make my own enablement initiatives to improve processes for our sellers. And that just kind of grew into searching for enablement opportunities until I finally started finding formal enablement job titles to apply for.
Nice. And we're talking 15 years ago?
Yeah.
So enablement wasn't a real thing at the time, right?
It was so new. Like most people, if I said I was doing enablement, they were said, what's that? So I would have to explain. It's kind of like sales training, sales operations mixed together. But now everybody seems to know the term, which is great. Come a long way.
That's amazing. Guys, by the way, it's Halloween. So most probably you're going to see this recording in a couple of weeks. But we're super excited. Like I'm in Mexico. The only thing I could find is this, but Nicole is more advanced. I love the outfit. So, all right. I wanted to start a conversation by actually doing a reference to the LinkedIn post that you recently shared. Give me a good laugh. I'm going to read it, so make sure I don't make a mistake. So you said you received a cold email from someone, and it says, "Hello, Martin. We are a full-service IT company that can provide you with, blah, 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 the pitch." And, you mentioned on your post that we don't even have Martin in our company. So funny enough, we all receive this kind of emails. And again, with AI advancements, everybody's leveraging these tools to do mass campaigns. Could this be, why we see misalignments when it comes to AI tool, rollouts, or, who should really be the force behind these changes in the organizations?
Yeah, I was really embarrassed for that seller, but honestly, it's not the first time it's happened. We've all received kind of cold emails with generic or incorrect greetings and no real context for me as the recipient, really lacking a human touch. So I think this is what happens when AI tools are rolled out by individual sales teams, or worse, not actually rolled out at all, and just the seller going out there and using open source LLMs. I think enablement should be involved. I'm biased, but I really do believe that we ensure that tools are rolled out effectively and that they include training for correct and ethical use of AI tools with our customers, because mistakes like that just hurt the brand.
Absolutely. And especially if you're in, B2B enterprise space, just imagine sending Nicole Ward an email saying, "Hey, Martin, how's it going? Do you want to see my product?" It's just really ugly. So Nicole, who else should be really involved when it comes to, again, building these alignments? Today we're chatting about how do we align our go-to-market teams from marketing, sales ops, enablement. Who should be the forefront of bringing these new tools from evaluation to execution and training and sustaining them?
Yeah, I do think that having enablement as sort of the spoke of the wheel, the center of the wheel, going out and working cross-functionally with the other teams that need to be involved makes the most sense to me. We tend to be very well situated within the organization to work with sales, marketing, and operations, customer success. So I think that's probably the best recipe to make sure that projects or programs or tools are rolled out effectively across the go-to-market teams. We just tend to smash through silos in no other way.
That is true. And look, to me, enablement is literally the glue between all these, teams within the, revenue organizations. But some people challenge these thoughts and say, hey, you know what? Most enablers don't have technical background. How do they go about like evaluating these tools? Do we really need that, or we need to really focus on other things?
I don't necessarily think that we need the technical background if we know who to talk to for the technical expertise. So again, like if I need to get really technical on something, I'll probably engage IT or the folks in our deal desk if it's related to sales comp or deals. So as long as you know who to work with, I think where enablement helps is that we're able to take complicated things and kind of distill them down into language that everyone can understand and get everybody on the same page about specific projects and who's going to do what.
Makes sense. Make absolute sense. A question about building this alignment between different teams. Again, speaking from enablement angle on just the business side, it might be easier, but I want to ask you this. Can you give us a simple, real life example of something outside of go-to-market? It could be even a parent taking care of the kids at home, and just feel free to use some characters just to make it easier for listeners to understand how this dynamic actually works.
Yeah, well, you actually read my mind about a real life example. I am a mom of two little ones, and no one needs enablement more than kids, right? So
Yep.
I guess an example could be when I ask my kids to clean up their playroom. My son is 6, he's older, he's more experienced in this. Maybe he's had some training, so he puts his toys away in the right places. My daughter's 3, she's used to having mommy clean up for her, so she's putting things away in all the wrong places, tripping along the way, getting distracted like an adorable little squirrel. So I would say that's probably GTM misalignment that I live every day.
I love it. So it seems like you partner up with more senior, let's say, team members. Your
Yes, I
son.
need to train my son to kind of mentor her to put her toys away in the right place.
That's amazing. All right. Can we talk about like some specific use cases? Just imagine it's SKO season. We all deal with this at some point, one way or another.
Mhm.
Who should actually be the force to build this in alignments? Like who should really run SKOs?
Yeah, I'm actually in the middle of SKO planning right now. So this is a great topic. I, again, think that SKO needs to be managed by your enablement team. Lots of other stakeholders are going to get involved in the planning and execution of the event, but I think you really need that clear leadership and project management around big events like that. Enablement teams typically will draft the agenda, working with sales leadership to make sure that it's meaningful and it's going to hit the mark going into the next selling year. Then once that agenda is finalized, enablement teams can go to work with other teams like product marketing to develop the content and maybe field or event marketing to ensure that everything goes smoothly logistically. But again, with enablement being that spoke of the wheel.
Why so many companies still rely on marketing to run SKOs, and what are the challenges that might actually come up if we completely outsource this to marketing? Say enablement is not involved, marketing is running SKOs. Have you seen any use cases like this in the past, and some of the challenges that might come with it?
Yeah, I mean, I've certainly seen it managed by marketing and not to throw them under the bus in any sense. I mean, sure, they want to make a meaningful event for sales, but they may not be as ingrained in the pains and what the market looks like out there for sales. I think enablement tends to wear that hat a little better from what I've seen. Marketing is very focused on demand generation through the website and events and, the brand. So I think, again, it wouldn't necessarily be a failure, but it might just not be attuned to what sales needs heading into that next selling year. So I like to see marketing as amazing partners to me, building out a meaningful SKO agenda, but I'm kind of that ear to the ground with sales, and they're the ones who help me build out meaningful content.
So would that be fair to say SKOs are really set for enablement if you want to make sure that it's a successful rollout?
I would say yes.
That's fair enough. I want to talk about another scenario. Just imagine if a VP of sales, again, we are getting close to the end of quarter, and marketing asks for help. And I've seen this with the startups, firsthand. VP comes in, guys, we are running this, event in 2 weeks. Marketing is asking for help, and naturally, you want to help other leaders in the organization. You have this partnership, and it's fair. It's a startup, but
Mhm.
again, when reps, struggle to hit their numbers, or they're really, pushing to, get the quota, met, who's off here? Like, is it the leader? Is it like who actually, making this situation complicated? And what should we do to fix it?
Yeah, I mean, ultimately, sales are responsible for their pipeline and their quota attainment. So, this VP of sales in this hypothetical scenario might be a little bit out of touch, asking them to get behind a marketing event if they're behind on their number. To me, the priorities in sales are very clear. That said, it also depends on the event, right? Like if it's your biggest customer event of the year, then generally sales has to get involved and get behind that to make it worthwhile because there's going to be so much revenue and lead gen that comes out of that. But if it's just a small event, then I would say that this VP of sales needs to focus their teams on their quota attainment first. And in this specific scenario, if sales is behind on their numbers, the marketing event could potentially be supported by a BDR or SDR team instead.
And how should people, actually leaders inside the organization, communicate this without hurting each other? Because everybody's, running some agendas, and we both seen this. Like, we're talking about misalignment between marketing and sales and customer success. Again, how should we plan this better
Mhm.
without, again, ruining the relationships?
I think understanding swim lanes and putting some guidelines in place for when we engage with sales. So, for example, 2 weeks before the end of the quarter, to me, sales is pretty much off limits. Like they have their heads down, they're on the calls with their customers, going to meetings, they're executing on their deals. That's where they should be focused. And we, as the team supporting sales, should help them put the blinders on to everything else. So I think if you clearly communicate to your cross-functional teams in marketing and ops and customer success, like, hey, let's get all of our collaborative work done in the first 2 months of the quarter so that those last few weeks of the quarter can really be focused on sales. I think that's a better recipe for collaboration.
Absolutely. So who should be the force? Not dictating, but basically building this plan from the get-go. Should it come from the top? Like, are we looking at CROs and CEOs getting involved, or again, can enablement be someone responsible for building all that?
I think enablement can be the team behind the plan and maybe helping to execute the plan, but ultimately it needs the blessing from senior sales leadership and senior leadership with the cross-functional teams. So, for example, my enablement team is responsible for all of our sales communications. So we kind of assessed all of the emails that were hitting our sellers' inboxes from cross-functional teams, and we very politely shut them all down and said, this is now how we're going to communicate to sales. We're going to use our enablement platform. We're going to use a monthly newsletter. We're going to use a Teams channel, but we're going to try to keep their inboxes clean and focused on their customers and their direct management chain. And that's been, very well received at OSV. And again, we proposed that plan and we proposed a cadence of lunch and learns every 2 weeks and a newsletter on a monthly basis. And we proposed that cadence in our communication strategy to our senior leaders. They all approved it. And then it was communicated out, and we've done a great job sticking to it.
I love it. Would that be fair to say enablement teams need to basically plan this out and get the buying from the leadership team? It's not something that people hand over to enablement and say, hey, I'm the CRO here, and I know enablement got the power to get everyone together and build this alignment. It's mostly like enablers being proactive about it by proposing a plan firsthand before things get messed up. Would that be fair to say this, or it's different based on your experience?
No, I think that's very fair. I think a lot of times as enablers, we're kind of assessing the data. We're looking at, how are things doing towards the end of the quarter. We're talking to salespeople throughout the quarter. We're hearing their pains, and so we're creating the plan based on the need. And so we tend to be the team that bubbles up those concepts to leaders for consideration.
Do you have any frameworks or any step-by-step strategy for this? Just imagine, someone joins a company, inherit a team of enablers, and they're starting to assess, the situations and challenges the company is facing until we get to the execution. Is there even a framework, or we need to just be really agile and go through things and, improvise?
I think every leader is different. I tend to come into a new role and do a lot of listening. And then I try to, within the first 2 or 3 months, establish my charter and my team mission. And when I say charter, that's usually the core things that we're responsible for, or what we think we should be responsible for. And then we present that to leadership to say, is this aligned with what you think enablement is responsible for? And then once we get the green light there, okay, now let's establish what projects and goals we're going to attain within each of those pillars within a charter. So that's how I do it. I'm sure every leader is different, but I do like to go in with a plan and then revisit that plan on a regular basis with my executive leadership team.
So it's an ongoing, basically, effort. It's not that a one-off event that you build something, you propose it. You need to always be proactively, looking at the situation. And to your point, when you build your charter, it gives you a guideline, so you know where to, go to or who to speak with when you get to execution.
Yeah, it's never just like a set it and forget it situation.
Yeah. Okay. That's fair enough. So when it comes to data misalignments, and this is a big thing, from CRM not being hygienic, from sometimes marketing not communicating all those messages, clearly to the sales. What are some of major misalignments that you've noticed in the past 15 years working with different industries, different teams, sizes, that can be avoided? Are there any ways that we can actually assess these problems at the beginning, and how can we actually stop them from happening, moving along?
I think a lot of people make decisions in a vacuum or a silo, and they're not proactively communicating. And again, that's where I believe that my enablement team can help, is that we open the lines of communication and we show people that, making decisions like this leads to, ultimately probably failure of your project or no adoption around whatever you're trying to roll out to the field. So when we speak about CRM fields, for example, there's a lot of data that a lot of other teams outside of sales want to gather from CRM. And, it's helping them develop their marketing campaigns, or it's helping the customer success team understand, how can we improve our customer experience? And there's a lot of fields that sales has to fill out, but there's no what's in it for me to do it. So I think ultimately you've got to communicate to sales, what's in it for them to fill out these fields. Maybe one example is, you've got a deal on the ropes and you need to engage your senior leadership in the final stages of your deal. What better way for them to get up to speed than to go through the CRM notes? So if your CRM notes are clean and up to date, your leader will be able to support you faster. One of the things that we noticed at OSV was that we obviously had too many fields, but they were critical to different teams at different times in the sales cycle. So we launched a stage close wizard. And what that means is when a salesperson attempts to move their stage forward in the CRM, if they've happened to miss any of the required fields in the CRM, there's a very simple wizard that is going to prompt them to complete them in one simple UI. So they don't have to scroll forever through the lengthy opportunity record to find whatever fields they might have missed. And because we're parsing them out throughout the various stages, they're not being bombarded with all of these fields when they're just trying to close their deal to win. So I think, again, understanding the pains and communicating them to the different operational or marketing teams involved, and making sure that you're the voice of sales. Ultimately, we have to make sure that our processes are easy and adopted for them to be successful.
Do you believe your reps burn leads practicing on client calls? When it comes to giving them one-on-one coaching sessions, you just don't have the bandwidth, so you get rid of them altogether? Or maybe you notice that your team spends a lot of time on non-revenue tasks like taking notes, updating CRM, or drafting emails. These are the exact challenges we solve for other revenue leaders like yourself. With Sell Me the Spend AI Coach, you can offer your reps role-play sessions at scale while automating one-on-one coaching sessions based on your best practices and methodology. Also, AI will take care of all their non-revenue tasks, like note-taking, CRM updates, draft the email for them, so they can focus on constant improvement while you're focusing on one thing and one thing only, revenue growth. If you're interested in learning more about the clients we are working with or use cases that might be beneficial to you, check us out at sellmethespend.ai. So what you guys build, it seems like it has some sort of automation behind it, and correct
Yes,
me if I'm wrong.
that's right.
So is it like from the call recording tool? Do you use any AI tools or leveraging any other tools that you guys are using internally?
I think it's just it's something that we built over Salesforce. First, we did an analysis of what data do we expect we should have at this stage versus that stage. We know that if our sales rep is doing the right discovery, they should know XYZ. So we made certain fields required at those stages because we expect they'll know that information at that point in the sales process. And then basically the automation in Salesforce kind of looks at any fields that are missing that have been flagged as required at that stage, and it puts them all into that one screen in the wizard that we've launched and says, these are missing, fill them in, and then you can move your stage forward. But we're not allowing them to move the stage forward until it's done. And that could be something that upsets your salespeople, right? Like, you're stopping me from moving it forward. However, the what's in it for them is this simple wizard is now making it so you don't have to scroll through your entire opportunity record to see what fields you've missed. It's just an easier process. And so we're seeing, not a lot of pushback on that. And they're generally happy that these required fields are now surfaced in one simple wizard.
I love this. So can you walk me through the process? Like, how did you even notice this problem? And then in terms of like building this alignment with your business operation team and actually your sellers, your end users, to start building this project, this wizard, and also rolling it out and see how people adapt to it. Can you tell me the story? Like, how did you notice this?
Sure. I think, it comes from feedback from various departments. For example, marketing is running a campaign or preparing for an event and looking for customers within specific industries, and they're running reports on open opportunities, but they're coming up short because these fields haven't been completed. So we heard complaints like that from various teams, and we decided to solve the problem. So we went to sales and understood, okay, well, I'm missing that field because it's one of a dozen fields that I have to complete, and it's buried way at the bottom of the op record. So, hearing that plus hearing the complaints from other teams, we were able to come up with a plan and get them all as stakeholders on the project and ultimately approving the project to push it live. But it is absolutely comes from pain points expressed in the field.
Interesting. So it means everything goes back to the problem we are trying to solve for our internal, let's say, partners or customers. People like to call
Yeah.
it differently, but pretty much is the same as sales. You really dig in for pain, business problems, and then you break it down and get to the solution. Okay, very
Yeah.
cool. In terms of like what's happening in the market right now with AI and all this technology advancements, how do you see the role of AI helping with adjusting these misalignments between different organizations inside go-to-market team?
That's a tough question. I see AI more as a support for our go to market teams, not necessarily solving all of the problems, but helping to maybe surface some of those issues faster. So AI can do kind of health checks on your Salesforce hygiene, automation programs run like that. AI can help our sellers with sort of generative search, can help marketing with generative content, generative authoring. So I think there's a lot of different ways that AI is going to support us, but do I think we should, fully trust AI to do the work for us? Absolutely not. I think it needs some human touch, but it's going to really hold our hand through a lot of complicated processes now.
I love that, and I agree with you. I genuinely believe that AI will create different type of work for people. So if you're an
Mhm.
expert in enablement and coaching, you understand how to build alignment between teams. It's just not about training, and it really frustrates me when I hear like, "Oh, enablers just do training. Training can be replaced by AI." I'm like, you have no idea what you're talking about.
No, they
So
don't, clearly. I think AI is going to help enablement teams elevate themselves out of the tactical weeds and into strategic work. And that's what it's doing for my team, like helping to generate content descriptions, helping to generate tags in our content management platform, like basic stuff like that, that can take time. but doesn't really take a lot of brain power, and it's just, mundane and monotonous. So if I can take those tasks off the plates of my team, then they can focus more on strategic work and really articulating impact around enablement.
Makes sense. If someone wants to look at this misalignments inside their go-to-market team, you just join a company, you're leading enablement, where do we need to start? And how should we do this assessment across different teams? Because typically, like based on my experience, enablement teams always lack resources. So
Mm-hmm.
you don't have much budget, you don't have many people helping you, build your enablement organization. So how should we really focus and get the best of what we have?
I think if you're coming in and trying to establish that enablement is a strategic pillar of your organization, you've really got to align yourself to the goals of your leadership team. So when I joined OSV, there was no enablement function. And the first couple meetings was really just a lot of listening and asking, what are your goals for the next 3, 6, 9 months? What are the KPIs you're using to measure those goals? And then attaching myself to those. Okay, so you have these 3 goals. Here's how I'm going to support those 3 goals. And then immediately you have champions in your executive leadership team. And then when you revisit that, 6 to 12 months later and say, here's what we did to support the goal. Here's the data that shows we made an impact. And we were able to do that at OSV. We were able to demonstrate that within a year of enablement programs. Let's use onboarding as an example. We reduced new hire time to first opportunity by 47%.
Wow.
Like there's no disputing that. The new hires that came through our program reduced their time to first op by 47%. And then we were able to attach ourselves to other metrics like win rate and average deal size and overall revenue. And if you can do that, then you're going to be seen as strategic and enablement will thrive.
That's 47%. That's crazy.
Yeah.
And it was spent like, what was the timeline for this?
So 1 year of running enablement onboarding programs each quarter and 47% reduction in new hire time to first opportunity. I do think that sales onboarding is really the responsibility of the enablement team. And at OSV, we call ourselves the growth team, and the growth team consists of sales, marketing, and revenue operations. And so my enablement team is responsible for new hire onboarding for all of those teams. And we've also brought customer success into the fold as well, because we believe that the same onboarding should be made available to any customer facing team. So what we built was timely and consistent sales training with a combination of self-paced study and in-person practical application. Our onboarding is really multifaceted. We're supporting teams with that timely welcome email on their first day. And then a couple days in, after they've done with the HR onboarding piece, we're connecting with them on a phone call to answer their questions, walk them through the enablement platform, show them their e-learning assignments. And then they do all of those e-learnings as pre-work to that quarterly 3-day workshop in person, where we really put what we've learned to work with role play scenarios using our tools and our actual content. And we make sure that we give them a lot of networking opportunities with our leaders and their cross-functional peers, because we're remote and that's totally critical to build those relationships. So I really do think that having enablement responsible for your sales onboarding and potentially your entire go-to-market team onboarding is critical.
I can't agree more, because I can go back to my experience when I was a seller. Everything seemed like patched up. I don't know,
Yeah.
for lack of a better word. Okay, you talk to this guy, that's good. He's more senior, he's gonna help you. And I helped with onboarding in the past too. And I was really vocal about it. I was like, look, I'm not an expert in this. Yes, I'm high performing in my role. I'm a seller. So
Right.
you take my time getting into onboarding, but it seems like you guys really built this amazing plan. So when people join the company, it's more of an experience rather than just a checklist of, yes, okay, I share material with you. Now, you need to go meet this guy and that guy. It's really well planned, and you're partnering up with, CS teams and other orgs potentially in the organization. Look, let me ask you my last question. And it's hypothetical, but I'm really
Mhm.
curious to hear, because it seems like you're big in building this internal partnerships when you're
Yeah.
rolling out, let's say, onboarding or any other initiatives for go-to-market teams. If you could choose only one team to partner up with as an enablement team, right? For 1 year to come, which one would you choose and why?
RevOps.
Really? Okay, cool.
Yeah,
Why?
because that's where the data lives and that's where business systems are managed. And I think there's a lot of synergies between enablement and RevOps. In fact, at OSV, enablement rolls up to RevOps. Like we're part of
Yeah.
the RevOps organization. So I am day in, day out working with our business systems team to make sure our integrations between platforms are working the way we want them to kind of reduce redundancies across our tools, making sure that we have as much centralized as possible. I'm constantly looking for data from our business intelligence team because that data is what I'm going to use to go to marketing or to go to sales to help drive decisions in our roadmap. So I would say if I had to be attached at the hip to anyone, it would be RevOps and then marketing in a close second.
Nice. I mean, RevOps are, the superstars, definitely behind the scene, giving all the data and
Agreed.
all the
Yeah.
tools that we need. Yeah, that's interesting. So this brings up a follow-up question. Which one is more effective for go-to-market teams to work, more smoothly? If enablement work directly with the CRO or work with RevOps, let's say head of RevOps, VP of RevOps, whatever the title might be, in your experience, which one is really actually more effective and the enablement can benefit more from?
Well, I'm going to just share the situation I'm currently in. So, our growth team that I spoke about, sales, marketing, and RevOps, we all report to the CRO. So, the CRO has kind of helped us eliminate silos and barriers between these teams. And you see them so often between sales and marketing. And I can say that at OSV, our sales and marketing teams are great partners and really in lockstep, and RevOps just complements them both. So I would say having enablement roll up to RevOps makes sense, but could also roll up to sales, could also roll up to marketing, but ultimately having them all under the same CRO and in the same QBRs and all hands meetings is where we see the great networking and collaboration happen.
That's fantastic. Nicole, thank you very much for taking the time. If someone wants to reach out to you, first and foremost, can they? We're going to make sure that they don't, send Martin the first email. But
Yeah,
other
actually
than
get my name right.
but can they reach out and how?
Yeah. Reach out to me on LinkedIn. I really enjoy kind of mentoring and helping other people with their enablement programs. I've got a couple mentors outside of work, within work. So very happy to help at any time. And LinkedIn's definitely the best way to reach me.
That's amazing. Guys, hope you enjoyed this conversation, learned something today, and actually, have a little bit of fun with our outfit. Hers is cooler than mine, but I'll see you soon. Thank you very much, Nicole. Bye for now.
My pleasure. Bye, Michael.